Good evening. Well, this is my last video for 2020. It's obviously December 31st. Just finished offering Mass for the Vigil for the Solemnity of Mary, Mother of God. I want to wish you and your families joy and peace at Christmas time and throughout the new year. January 1st is not only the Solemnity of Mary, Mother of God, but it is also the World Day of Prayer for peace. And certainly we want peace and joy in the new year. Certainly we pray for a better year than the one we have presently are presently completing. January 1st, though, up until 1970, was known as the Feast of the Circumcision of the Lord. 8 days after the birth of the child, Joseph had the child circumcised and named him Jesus, just as the angel had told him to do. Circumcision was important for the Jews because it was a sign of the covenant that God had made with Abraham. And so Abraham had been promised he would have numerous descendants, as many as the stars in the sky and the grains of sand on the seashore. And sure enough, through this child who would be born, Jews and Gentiles would be brought into the one family of God, and Abraham would have those numerous descendants, and God would keep his promise. But God also had a plan to save his people. And Joseph gave the child the name Jesus, which means God saves. God comes to save his people. He does not come in power and might, but he came as a tiny child, vulnerable, meek, and mild. But save us he did. He came in the flesh. The Word was made flesh and made his dwelling among us. And we have seen his glory, the glory of an only begotten Son, full of grace and truth. The Son of God came in the flesh, and his own received him not. He suffered in that flesh, died in the flesh, rose in the flesh, and ascended to the Father's right hand in the flesh. And he promises us that if we believe in him, then we will be raised in glory in the flesh on the last day. God comes to save his people, and that's part of the whole mystery of Christmas season. But January 1st is also the Solemnity of Mary, Mother of God. In the fullness of time, God sent his only Son to be born of a woman, born under the law. He was born of a woman, and that woman had a name, and her name was Mary. Jesus was truly the Son of God, but he's also the Son of Mary. And because Jesus is God, and Mary is his mother, Mary is the Mother of God. In the Christian East, since she is known as the Theotokos, the God-bearer. At the Council of Ephesus in the year 431, she was given that title. And that title is not only used in the East, but in the West. She is the Mother of God. Jesus, the child born of Mary, was truly God. That is also part of this mystery of Christmas. But we have Mary also as our mother, for he who was born in Bethlehem suffered at Calvary, and there he told the beloved disciple, "Son, behold your mother. Mother, behold your son." And so Mary gazes upon each and every one of us with great love, and she intercedes for us as a mother. She fights for her children. She protects and defends her children. And above all, she loves her children and draws them near to her Son, where they find peace that the world cannot give. The gospel for the day tells the story of the shepherds who went over and found Mary and Joseph and the child. The shepherds had been laboring in their fields. They worked by the sweat of their brow. They were so poor they had to live in the fields. They were viewed with suspicion by religious authorities. They were known to be thieves. But the angel and the heavenly host appeared to them and told them about the child. And they said, "Let us go over to Bethlehem to see these things." And they made haste. They were not resigned to their fate like so many people are today. Many people with the year that we have just experienced have been beaten down. They feel worn down. So much sickness, so much suffering, unemployment, poverty, polarization, division in families and neighborhoods, even within the church. And some people simply say, "I can't make any difference whatsoever," or "This is just how it's going to be," or "I'll just stay at home." But the shepherds were not so resigned. They went over in haste and with hope for the promised Messiah. And then they saw him with his mother and with Saint Joseph. And they had peace, a peace which the world could not give. And they were transformed by the encounter with this child. And they went away and told others about them. And all were amazed at what the shepherds had told them. There was the hope and the fulfillment of every promise in this child. That is what also the mystery of Christmas is about. Finally, tomorrow, January 1st, is the World Day of Prayer for Peace, the World Day of Peace. I ask that you and your families take some time to pray for peace in our world. Pope Francis has written the annual message, and he speaks about building a culture of care as a pathway to peace. He believes that we as Catholics have something special to offer, especially through our social doctrine, the care for the dignity of each and every human person, born and unborn, for the poor, for the migrant, for those who are forced to flee their homes, for those who are in prisons and jails. Each and every one of them is made in God's image and likeness. And the Son of God came down from heaven to save each and every one of them. And he loves each and every one of them. And so we have a special duty to care for the gift of human life and for the dignity of the human person. And we have that within our tradition to offer to the world as a pathway to peace. We also have a developed doctrine of the common good. Throughout this year, we've seen how scarce sometimes resources have been, especially, for example, when we saw people hoarding toilet paper. It's me and I come first. It's me and my family, we come first, always. But we're asked to think about the common good, the sum total of those social conditions which help others also to find their fulfillment, their path more easily. We cannot always be selfish. St. Paul says, love is patient, love is kind, love does not boast, love does not put on airs, love does not seek its own interests. Indeed, one way to find peace is to not think only of ourselves and our interests, but of the larger picture of society, of our community, of our parish, of those all around us. And so to broaden our scope so as to bring about peace, to not be selfish with our resources, but generous in heart. The Pope also points out that we also have the virtue of solidarity within our Catholic social doctrine, which we can promote, to stand side by side another, particularly another person who is suffering or poor or marginalized. We've seen this at work. I see it every day when I go over to the Mercy West Hospital nearby the parish. Doctors, nurses, healthcare providers showing compassion, staying with the sick and the suffering. We see it in the generosity of so many people at Christmas time toward the poor, that they haven't been forgotten about. We think about our outreach to the McCreary County mission, or to our missions in Guatemala or Kenya. We show our solidarity and our love for people there. We also see it in our extensive our ministry to the homebound, to tell the elderly and those who are alone, you haven't been forgotten about. We do care about you. So we can always pray for others. We can always offer our sufferings for others in solidarity with them. I think often of the Christians in the Holy Land. So few are left there now. Many have been forced to flee their homes, and the ones that are there are impoverished because there is no tourism. What about them? The Holy Father encourages us not to forget about them, but to be in solidarity with them. Finally, the Holy Father reminds us that we are in solidarity with all of these people, and we defend the dignity of the human person, and we promote the common good because we share a common home. We all have a duty to care for creation because we all share this world together. You don't have to be an environmental activist to think about how you use your resources, how to be good stewards of God's gifts, especially the gift of creation, how to care a little bit more for the environment. And at the center of all of God's creation, the crown of his creation, is the human person. We cannot live any longer in a throwaway culture. Rather, each and every person must be valued. All of creation must be valued because of our love for the God who made all people and all of this creation. So, we start at the dawn of a new year, filled with hope. But I invite you, we all say 2020 was such a terrible year. I invite you to reflect on what were the moments of grace this year. How was it that we made it through this year, if but by grace? What were the grace-filled moments in your life, in your family's life, that you saw with your own eyes? The grace of God has appeared, we hear in the letter to Titus. Where did it appear in your life? Secondly, what are the moments of grace that maybe you missed because your heart was too hard, your eyes were too closed, because you were lost in complaining rather than seeing the opportunity that God was placing before you? Finally, I invite you to think about those people who have left our world in 2020 and to give thanks to God for them, how they touched your lives. And now, with joy and hope, let us look forward to 2021, the 200th anniversary of our diocese, the 75th anniversary of our parish. Let us go forth in joy and in peace, the peace that only Christ can give. Peace I leave you, my peace I give to you, Jesus says, but not as the world gives peace, do I give it. Yes, those shepherds, they ran across those fields and they found true peace and joy, not in money, not in material things, but in the child. May this Christ child bless you and your families with the gift of his peace today and throughout the new year. May God bless you.